What is buried under the ice of Antarctica? My name is Bill. Welcome to Night Terrors this week. And we're starting right now. Welcome to Eldergrown in Takahama Plateau. Welcome to Green Tea. Let's get started. Here at web.archive.org is an article by Jerry E. Smith. We're going to be speaking first about the theories about Schmittler having a schmatzy base in Antarctica. Welcome, Rhino Rex. Welcome, T. Ceratops. German Antarctica, could that be it? Yeah, that looks like it. Did I have a page number here? What did I have here? Let's start at station 211. And Mr. Smith writes, welcome, Brooke Birch. Oh, wow, is anyone on YouTube? I'm not seeing YouTube. Can someone give me a YouTube report? Oh, there we go. Thank you, Elder. Surprisingly, we uncovered evidence that Schmittler's right-hand man, Rudolf Hess, had been entrusted with coordinating the effort. Welcome, Verpine. Welcome to Freshwicks. Entrusted with coordinating the effort to build Station 211. Historians have often dismissed Hess as a schmatzy figurehead, positioned highly because of his total subservience to the Fuhrer. Well, there is nothing else besides total subservience to the Fuhrer, right? But perhaps this is because his true role was so well concealed. If so, Hess must have enlisted the aid of Reichsfuhrer SS Heinrich Himmler. Himmler had rejected Christianity, as had many of the schmatzy inner core. Welcome, Yellow Rose for Texas. And welcome to EZ417. And believed in a strange Germanic version of the neo-pagan New Age. Himmler was a devotee of the German occultist, Dr. Friedrich Wichtel, who specialized in Masonic lore. After the collapse of the Austro-Hungarian Empire in 1918, at the end of the First World War, Dr. Wichtel wrote a best-selling book entitled Weltfreie Maurerei, Weltrevolution, Weltrepublik, World Freemasonry, World Revolution, World Republic. Himmler was drawn into the occult after reading Dr. Wichtel's book in 1919, while a military cadet convalescing after a serious stomach illness. Thank you, Elder, for the super chat. Elder says, what mysteries lie at the bottom of the world? Let me be your guide. Thank you, Elder. Thank you, Verpine, for the super chat. With the looks like a potato superhero. Lovely. Thank you, V. Himmler was drawn into the occult after reading Dr. Wichtel's book in 1919 while a military cadet convalescing after a serious stomach illness. Welcome to Olsen, too. Himmler eventually became a believer in the Hindu concept of world ages, or yugas. He believed that the current age, or Kali Yuga, would end in global cataclysm, thereby giving birth to a new world age called the Satya Yuga, by sending a schmatzy colony to Antarctica. Himmler believed that he was ensuring a remnant of the pure Aryan race would survive the coming cataclysm with its society and culture intact. He believed that these survivors would then take possession of Antarctica after the cataclysm had melted the South Polar ice cap. That cataclysm coming soon. Germany built more than 24 super subs during the war. Each was the size of an aircraft carrier. But they weren't built as warships. They were underwater cargo ships. Initially, they were used to resupply the submarine wolf packs. Later, they were pressed into transporting tools, equipment, raw materials, and perhaps even slave labor to the South Polar base. Evidence suggests that the U-boat traffic to Neuschwabenland continued even after Germany's surrender in 1945. Actually, they would say Neuschwabenland. Green Tea says, underwater cargo ships. Pump that speed up to 2 knots, would you? During the war, surface ships were involved in this massive effort. But as the tide of the war turned against the Germans, the bulk of the transport fell to the U-boats and their crews. Some insight into how much activity took place to and from Antarctica can be gleaned from the fact that between October of 1942 and September of 1944, 16 German U-boats were sunk in the South Atlantic, the area of Antarctica. Several surface ships appear to have been put on watchdog duty, resupplying the subs and keeping Allied shipping away. For example, the raider ship Atlantis, under the command of Captain Bernhard Rogge, made an extended voyage in the South Atlantic, Indian, and South Pacific Oceans between 39 and 41, visiting the Isles Kerguelen between September 40 and January 41. The ship then adopted a new disguise as Nemesis before being sunk by the HMS Devonshire near Ascension Island in 1941. Welcome, Ryu 72. Another sea raider was the Penguin, under the command of Captain Ernst Felix Kruder. She operated chiefly in the Indian Ocean. In January of 41, she captured a Norwegian whaling fleet. Talk about the Ubermensch. Another raider was the Comet, commanded by Captain Robert Eisen. She operated in the Pacific and the Indian Oceans. Possible evidence for this construction project can be gleaned from the story of the submarine U-859 on April the 4th, 1944. At 0400 hours, it left port on an unknown mission carrying 67 men and 33 tons of mercury sealed in glass bottles in watertight tin crates. The submarine was later sunk on the 23rd of September by the British submarine, the HMS Trenchant, in the Straits of Malacca. Although 47 of the crew died, 20 did survive. Some 30 years later, one of these survivors spoke about the cargo and divers. Spoke openly about the cargo, and divers later confirmed the story on rediscovering the mercury. The significance being that mercury is usable as a fuel source for certain types of aerospace propulsion. Why would a German submarine be transporting such a cargo so far from home? We suspect that it was en route to Station 211 with fuel for a certain specialized type of disc-shaped aircraft. Further evidence that Station 211 existed in Antarctica and continued to be inhabited after the war's end can be seen in several accounts of the German naval activity after the fall of Berlin. For example, on July the 10th, 1945, more than 2 months after cessation of hostilities, the German submarine U-530 surrendered to Argentine authorities at the port of Mar del Plata, one of the closest Argentine harbors to Antarctica. Similarly, U-977 arrived a month later in Mar del Plata on the 17th of August. These were but 2 of the boats that are believed to have made up the convoy of the Führer's final army. Colonel Bruckner's informant, Captain Bernhardt, supposedly served on one of these U-boats. There continued to be accounts of German activity for a considerable post-war period in the area of the Antarctic. The French agents, the French Agence France Presse, or something like that, in 1946 stated, the continuous rumors about German U-boat activity in the region of Tierra del Fuego, between the southernmost tip of Latin America and the continent of Antarctica, are based on true happenings. Then the French newspaper François gave the following account of an encounter with such a German U-boat. Almost 1.5 years after cessation of hostilities in Europe, the Icelandic whaler Juliana was stopped by a large German U-boat. The Juliana was in the Antarctic region around Malvinas Islands, the Falklands. Green Tea says, welcome, Mr. Kilroy. Green Tea says, what if extraterrestrials just means extra land, like the extra land in Antarctica? Extraterrestrial, extra land. Good one, Green Tea. Welcome, Ayawoot. I'm sorry, welcome, Ayawat. From the French newspaper François. Almost 1.5 years after the cessation, I read that already. The Juliana was in the Antarctic region, I read that too, when a German submarine surfaced and raised the German official flag of mourning, red with a black edge. The submarine commander sent out a boarding party, which approached the Juliana in a rubber dinghy, and having boarded the whaler, demanded of Captain Hecla part of his fresh food stocks. The request was made in the definite tone of an order, to which resistance would have been unwise. The German officer spoke correct English and paid for his provision in US dollars, giving the captain a bonus of $10 for each member of his crew. While the foodstuffs were being transferred to the sub commander informed Captain Hecla of the exact location of a large school of whales. Later, the Juliana found that school of whales where it was designated. Could it be possible that other German U-boats, in addition to those, were continuing to operate in the area of Antarctica following the war? It is known that 54 German U-boats disappeared during the war, of which only 11 are likely to have met their fate in collision with mines. Okay, we are doing great here. We're about 15 minutes. That's pretty good, I'd say. Let's go on to the next one. Welcome, umpteenth one. Welcome, Taylor Bible. Here at mirror.co.uk is a story by Rachel Hagen. Welcome, David Bryce Jr. Entitled Google Map Users Convinced They've Discovered Hidden Nazi Base Deep in Antarctica. Suggestions that it could be home to a fascist hideaway pay homage to the popular online theory that the Schmatzis survived after the war in a hidden base in Antarctica. I'm hoping that's muted. Does it say anything? I don't see any sound from that. Good. I do have a sound indicator over there. And it's not working again. There we go. There it goes. Too many ads. We got to go to the first part of the story. Here we go. Google Map users believe they have found a so-called Schmatzi bunker after spotting what appears to be a secret door hidden in Antarctica, where they suggest Schmittler may have survived the war. No sound for video. Thank you, Elder, for the report. The supposed door was spotted by an eagle-eyed Facebook user who shared a screenshot on the 30th of July. The baffling image from Google Maps showed a shadowed, square-shaped mark resembling an entranceway, hidden in the east end of a vast Antarctic ice sheet. Theorists were quick to take a stab at what the supposed door could be used for, with plenty of them believing it could be the secret base for the schmatzy government, or even a schmatzy bunker. Suggestions that it could be home to a fascist hideaway likely pay homage to the popular theory that the schmatzis survived after the war in a hidden Antarctic base. The German expedition to Antarctica in 1938, an attempt to source their whale oil, has been causing a lot of contention among theorists since 1947. Oh, and there's the door right there. Oh, cool. It says view 2 images. Let's take a risk here. Yeah, that is rectangular. Isn't that something? Where's the other one? Okay. 2 pictures of the door. One's the doorway to the schmatzy bunker. The other I'm not going to comment on. The most popular theories suggest that war criminals constructed a huge military base beneath the ice during their month in the Antarctic, where the schmatzy elite supposedly survived in the aftermath of the war. Others suggest the ominous shape could be home to other beings. Due to the size of the door, perhaps very large, gigantic beings. Some even compared the Antarctic entrance to the mysterious photograph of what appeared to be an alien door on Mars in May of 2022, which NASA later claimed was just rock. The image of the entranceway in the Antarctic was shared with the caption, "Doorway into the ice," and racked up more than 1,600 likes, comments, and shares on Facebook. One comment said, "There's a schmatzy base in there somewhere." A second agreed, saying, "I thought they were all in Argentina. Antarctica would be a much more suitable hideout." A third commenter theorized, "Welcome, Gotcha Man." Did I welcome umpteenth one yet? Welcome umpteenth one, if I have not yet said so. Bad memory, getting old. A third said, "I've heard there are many bases there in Antarctica, ranging from out-of-town visitors to deep-in-the-mental civilizations. Even the Fourth Reich has a large establishment there, apparently. It's convenient when you don't have civilians or any media about which to worry. On an entire continent, they can do anything they want, and do it far from prying eyes." A fourth commenter stated, "The doorway leads to the one they found on Mars." A fifth one added, "Interesting. So this may be the entrance to a world we still don't know beyond Antarctica." Meanwhile, others were more skeptical. There will always be skeptics. I guess that's it for that story. I just see how that compares with the Mars picture. They said, March 22, May 22, door on Mars. Let's see if we can find that one. Let's see if they look similar. That would be thinking maybe here. Yes. May 2022 Mars door. Spell Mars right now, Bill. Wow. The one on Mars is even more impressive. Oh my goodness. This is incredible. That's just incredible. That's fairly good res. What about this one? It's about the same. That's even better. You gotta be kidding me. Let's open this image up in a new tab. Wow. That is like incredible. Look at that, would you? Holy cow. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4. You can see the pixelation in the image. That would probably be tough to fake. I don't know if you guys can see the pixelation. You guys are getting 720, but I have 1080p here. Welcome, Big L1. Incredible. That's just incredible. But how does it compare? I think the Arctic one looks a lot bigger. Enough for a submarine to go through. Yeah, but still rectangular. Wow. Why do I have here Antarctic hotel search? Go back one, don't you? There we go. Don't understand why it's doing that to me. Okay, next up. Here at compacthistories.com. The mystery of the Piri Reis map. Now, this is the map that was made, I think, in the 1500s, that supposedly used a lot of other ancient maps as references. And in it, you can see the southernmost continent, but it depicts land instead of ice. Does it give an author here? That's negative. It does not. Written by the staff at Compact Mysteries or Compact Histories. And the staff begins. In 1929, a group of scholars working in Istanbul's Topkapi Palace made an unexpected discovery. Tucked away in a dusty collection of old documents was a piece of gazelle skin parchment, covered in colorful drawings, cryptic notes, and a map depicting an elaborate coastline. What they found would soon be known as the Piri Reis map, a 16th century naval chart that would go on to baffle historians, cartographers, and the general public alike. Why? Because this map, drawn in 1513, appeared to show parts of the world that shouldn't have been known at the time. Most famously, it seemed to depict the coast of South America, but also, and more bizarrely, Antarctica, centuries before it was officially discovered. Was it simply artistic imagination? A lucky guess? You got to see the detail on this, so it's not a lucky guess. Or evidence of a forgotten history. The truth remains elusive, but the mystery endures. Piri Reis was not a mystery himself. He was born around 1465 in modern-day Turkey. He was an Ottoman admiral and navigator and cartographer. His full name was Ahmed Muhyiddin Piri, but he became known simply as Piri Reis, Reis being a naval title, meaning captain or admiral. He served in the Ottoman fleet during a time of intense naval warfare and Ottoman expansion. participating in numerous campaigns across the Mediterranean. His real passion, however, was mapping the world. In 1513, he compiled a map using a wide range of sources, including charts from Portuguese and Spanish explorers, and possibly ancient documents. His own annotations make this clear. He writes in the margins that some parts of the map were based on sources from the era of Alexander the Great. Only a fragment of the original map survives, but what remains has been enough to fuel nearly a century of speculation. The surviving portion of the Piri Reis map focuses on the Atlantic Ocean. It clearly outlines the western coasts of Europe and Africa, as well as parts of the eastern coast of South America. These features are reasonably accurate for the time, and are consistent with what European explorers had mapped by the year 1513. But then there is a more controversial part, the section that appears to show a southern landmass. Some have interpreted this as Antarctica, specifically the coast of Queen Maud Land, which was not officially discovered until the early 1800s. Even more puzzling, the map depicts this southern land without the thick layer of ice that currently covers the continent. This led researchers in the 20th century to suggest that the map must be based on ancient sources, dating back to a time when Antarctica was ice-free. A scenario that would place the original source thousands of years before the rise of known civilization. I'm sure that is the date of that has been pushed back 4,000 or 6,000 years since the discovery of Göbekli Tepe. When was this dated? Did they give a date? Negative. They do not. Oh, yes. Well, last September. Evidently last September. The idea that the Piri Reis map was based on much older sources comes from a 20th century hypothesis, popularized by authors such as Charles Hapgood. In the 1960s, Hapgood argued that the map was evidence of an ancient seafaring civilization, one that possessed sophisticated geographical knowledge, long before the rise of European exploration. According to the Hapgood theory, this ancient culture mapped the globe with surprising precision, including the coastline of Antarctica, when it was not yet covered in ice, potentially over 6,000 years ago. Yeah, Göbekli Tepe is what, 10 to 12,000 years old? So yeah, well within possibility. This knowledge, he suggested, was preserved through time and eventually incorporated into the Piri Reis map. Supporters of the theory point to the map's represented accuracy, its references to ancient sources, and its inclusion of regions that were unknown to Renaissance-era Europe. And we got some debunking here, which we're going to skip. A map out of time. What makes the Piri Reis map so captivating is the way it sits at the intersection of history and speculation. On the one hand, it is a tangible historical object, a real artifact created by a real person in a known place and time. On the other hand, it challenges our assumptions about what was known in the 16th century. Some have gone even further. The map has been cited in theories involving everything from lost Atlantis to extraterrestrial visitors. The enduring mystery of the map lies not just in what it shows, but in how it forces us to consider the gaps in our knowledge. Over the years, modern cartographers and historians have examined the Piri Reis map using satellite data and computer modeling. Some studies suggest that parts of the map are surprisingly accurate when adjusted for projection method. I'm just skimming through here. There's a lot of debunky stuff in here. There's something inherently intriguing about a map that shows more than it should. In a world where so much of history has been lost or highly fragmented. Welcome, Rand 2009. The Piri Reis map offers a tantalizing glimpse into the knowledge and imagination of past generations. And here we have a FAQ. All right, cool. Does it show the Piri Reis map? It does not even show it. Well, let's go find a picture of it. And let's examine Antarctica under the ice, according to Piri Reis. Others says, yo, made this map of your planet for you on my day off. Have at it, bro. All right, we need Piri Reis map. That is going to be over here. Piri Reis map. Ooh, is that a live? Is that a... What is that? I thought it was a bug. No, a little piece of plastic. Looked like a bug. Bugs are coming up all over the place these days. But not usually in the studio. Oh, yeah. There it is right there. Come on, there it is there. We want that Antarctica really featured. That asks, is this Antarctica? The portion that I saw earlier was mostly down here in the bottom part of the map where you see the, of course, where you see Antarctica. You have a clean studio, says T Plateau. Thank you, T Plateau. It's a clean machine. Copyright strike. Yeah, the one I saw was rotated. Is that it right there? Piri Reis facsimile edition. Dead air is not good. There's the one I was thinking of right here. All right, good resolution. Yeah, here we go. Apparently, like Brazil over here, I guess. And Antarctica here. And look at the detail here. Yeah, the bottom part of the map here is the supposed Antarctic coast under the ice. That's a lot of detail. And that's not ice. They picture the animals you're going to find there. There's primates there, evidently. I see 2 primates. Tell me if I don't. I'm going to be sorry I magnified that. There's like some kind of gazelle type animal. This animal with an oddly curved horn on the top. Looks like 2 primates here. Or maybe 1 primate, and that looks like one of those famous pictures of a man with his head in his chest. I can't magnify it anymore, but it's right here. Another primate, it's got a tail, dancing with something like a wolf. So there's supposedly animals there. Ships pictured there. And as you can tell from the detail in the shore, no ice. Another unusual animal down there on the Antarctic continent before the ice covered it. Wow, amazing. We can reduce this. We can go here and then reduce this. Next up. Pyramids of Antarctica. A certain possibility. This at ancientcode.com and written by the Ancient Code team. And the team begins. Are there really pyramids at Antarctica? It's been quite a while since the discovery of pyramids on the continent. News about these mysterious structures has caused major interest among researchers. Welcome, caveman. Caveman says, what if it isn't a pole shift, but a moon displacement? That would be horrific. There go the tides. Or there they get worse. Who knows? It's one or the other, right? It's been quite a while since the discovery of pyramids on Antarctica. News about these mysterious structures have caused major interest among researchers. Countless theories have emerged proposing different explanations for the structures. The proposed theories range from alien construction to secret military base to ancient civilization with advanced technology. Regrettably, these theories have yet to be confirmed, and no official source has bothered to look into the matter, apparently, writes the team. Here's some good snaps of that. These all apparently are the same pyramidal peak. I've seen pictures before the show. It's four-sided. Amazing. There have been several images circulating the internet showing pyramidal structures in the cold environment of Antarctica. Some of the images obtained through the Integrated Ocean Drilling Program, an international project of underwater exploration. The discovery of these pyramids is causing speculation regarding what Antarctica was like in the distant past. Some suggest it was not always cold as it is today. Well, we know that. Scientific research proves that theory. In 2009, scientists doing research and collecting samples came across particles of pollen buried in the ice of Antarctica, suggesting that the ecosystem of the continent was very different in the past, suggesting that the summer temperature reached around 20 degrees Celsius at one point. What is 20 degrees Celsius? Oh, gosh. Wish I could do it in my head. Whoops, let's get up that, let's ask AI. And that's going to be here. 20 degrees Celsius in, not Ibn, in Fahrenheit. 68 degrees. As warm as 68. Oh, a balmy 68, eh? In 2012, another team of researchers identified 32 species of bacteria and a 3,000-year-old and 3,000-year-old halophile microbes in water samples from Lake Vida in East Antarctica. The permanent surface ice on the lake is the thickest non-glacial ice on Earth. So evidently they drilled down through the ice to get those samples. The possibilities are endless. If you consider that Antarctica was not always cold as it is today, the question to ask here is the following. Is it possible that Antarctica was once warm enough in the past to make it possible for an ancient civilization to live there? Well, the Eskimos survived in the Arctic, right? If it doesn't get as warm as 68 degrees up there, I would wager, where some Inuit populations lived. I might lose that wager. And if an ancient culture did in fact develop and inhabit Antarctica in the distant past, would we not find evidence of their life there today? According to many researchers, there are structures at Antarctica. There are pyramids there, and enough evidence to support the theory of ancient civilization inhabiting the continent in the past. If the archaeological community would acknowledge this finding, is an entirely different question. And there it is. Wow, look at how pyramidal that... Pyramidal? Pyramidal. Look how much that looks like a pyramid. That's incredible. If we go back to Africa, we know that scholars and Egyptologists have long suspected the Sphinx is much older than believed, possibly even over 10,000 years old. These theories are supported by the discovery of water erosion on the gigantic Sphinx, which according to scholars tells the story of extreme climate change in the distant past. So if the climate in Africa and other parts of the world changed so drastically, is it not possible the same thing happened in Antarctica? And if researchers manage to prove that the pyramids of Antarctica are made by men, the discovery would cause a major revision of history, of humanity. Would modern-day researchers and archaeologists accept and acknowledge these findings? Probably not, as they would go against everything they know and believe. But this is not a debate about beliefs. It's a question of finding out the truth about countless ancient civilizations scattered across the globe, many of which remain hidden. And it says here, what do you believe? The classic ending of the weak writer. What do you think? Let us know what you think. Did anybody comment? I don't see a place for comments, so that question is moot. You are able to share the article, however. Let's move on. Welcome, Big Daddy. I did not already welcome Big Daddy. No, I don't think I did. I welcome Big L1. I hope. Here at blog.scientnature.com. blog.scientnature.com. Written by Team Science Nature. Is an article entitled Former Navy Pilot Flew into Antarctica's No-Fly Zone and Exposes What He Saw. And Team Science Nature begins. The term UFO has been replaced by Unidentified Aerial Phenomenon, or UAP. I don't know if that's going to catch on. What do you think? Maybe for the government, they'll keep calling it UAPs. But I think everybody else is just going to keep calling it UFO. I could be wrong. UAP doesn't have the jingle that UFO does. That's confirmed by official terminology. During a squadron mission over the Antarctic mountains, a naval crew witnessed multiple silver darting objects. Antarctica, a continent where ice conceals secrets and time seems frozen, holds mystery beneath its glaciers. Well, as we just realized, they're not glaciers. They're like the ice on top of the continent is like permanent ice. I think glaciers sit on water, right? Yeah, glaciers sit on water. If it's on top of the continent, it's just ice. So there is no Antarctica beneath a glacier. Military personnel have reported silver discs cutting through blizzards, while scientists describe geometric shapes buried under the ice. Missing individuals who ventured too close to these enigmas leave behind only questions and quarantined equipment. These incidents occurred repeatedly, and a Navy officer's chilling account now sheds light on one of the world's greatest mysteries. What the heck is going on in Antarctica? The Navy encounter. It began as a routine supply run from McMurdo Station to a remote Antarctica outpost. A C-130 Hercules, a reliable military transport plane, droned through the polar air. Suddenly something appeared. Brian, a former Navy pilot, said, "At first I thought it was sunlight reflecting off the ice, but it moved fast. A seamless silver disk shot across the sky, defying physics, with no sound and no exhaust trail. It vanished instantly." The crew exchanged stunned glances, and the co-pilot's voice crackled over the intercom. "Did you just see that?" They had. And it wasn't the last sighting. Over the months, a disturbing pattern emerged. The silver disks appeared frequently, especially near mountain ranges and no-fly zones. Well, why do you think there are no-fly zones? And no-fly zones marked on flight charts. During one late-night flight, the crew observed 3 disc-shaped objects performing synchronized maneuvers, accelerating, stopping instantly, and even passing through each other as if intangible. Brian said it was like they were showing off. They knew we were watching and wanted us to see their superiority. The crew reported the sighting, but the response was unsettling. Within hours, they were summoned to a private briefing with 2 unidentified offers who lacked insignia. The message was clear. This is classified. No discussion, no notes, no logs. When a crew member pressed for answers, the officer's tone darkened. Some things are better left unacknowledged. The most disturbing encounter occurred when a storm forced the crew to skirt a prohibited no-fly zone, labeled an air sampling station, but with no further explanation, as the C-130 banked around a jagged ridge. Brian spotted a massive symmetrical opening in the mountain, too engineered to be a natural cave, roughly the size of a football field. Figures, humanoid but with unnaturally fluid movements, were visible near unfamiliar vehicles entering the cavern. The scene was eerily silent, with no radio chatter, only the Antarctic wind against the aircraft. Brian said this was no standard operation. The crew's unease was palpable, as what they saw defied human explanation. Upon landing, armed security personnel met them, separating and interrogating each crew member. They were warned that discussing the incident would lead to severe repercussions. Not only career-ending, but criminal. The message was laced with psychological pressure. This never happened. Then on July the 16th of 1985, a team of 15 scientists at the remote base R-12 missed their scheduled radio check-in. Initially attributed to equipment failure, concern grew after 24 hours of silence. They must have a backup. I mean, come on. By the third day, a recon team was dispatched. What they found was haunting. The station was intact, with half-full coffee cups, flickering computers, and personal items left untouched. But the scientists themselves had vanished. No emergency beacon had been activated, and no footprints or distress signals were found. 2 weeks later, on July the 30th, a patrol helicopter spotted the scientists stumbling across the ice near R-12. They were alive, but drastically altered. Pale and emaciated, with sunken eyes and incoherent speech about the city and the ones below. Military personnel swiftly intervened, confiscating their belongings and whisking them into an undisclosed medical facility for debriefing. Official reports labeled it mass psychological trauma due to isolation. But those who saw the scientists knew something unnatural had occurred. The scientists' equipment from Marie Byrd Land, is that what it's called, really? That's a good song, Birdland. Was isolated in a secured Quonset hut at McMurdo Station, off limits without authorization. Days later, 2 men in suits, formal yet wearing heavy field boots, delivered a blunt message. No paperwork or NDAs were signed. A deliberate omission to leave no trace. This deviated from Antarctica's meticulous documentation protocols, signaling a deep cover-up. Satellite imagery has revealed unsettling anomalies. A near-perfect pyramid near Ellsworth Mountains, spotted in 2016, defied geological norms with its precise edges and hollow shadows. Metallic saucer-shaped objects, some 60 meters wide, appeared embedded in ice, with mile-long trenches. Bleeding glaciers, showing rust-red stains and spiral patterns, and emitting heat inconsistent with algae blooms. Fast-moving shadows exceeding 1,000 miles an hour, performing impossible maneuvers, and thermal imaging revealing inexplicable 50-degree Fahrenheit hotspots, which formed a grid-like pattern. Censorship is rampant. Pixelated imagery and altered landforms obscure sensitive sites, particularly in the transit Antarctic mountains and Marie Byrd Land. The Antarctic Treaty System of 1959 restricts independent exploration and grants military authority a controlled access to anomalous sites. Whistleblowers describe a committee, a shadowy alliance of military, scientific, and corporate entities, suppressing discovery. This suggests Antarctica harbors evidence of non-human intelligence, possibly extraterrestrial or interdimensional, or ancient terrestrial. Admiral Richard Byrd's 1947 expedition diary, published posthumously, describes a temperate land beyond the pole and encounters with advanced beings. In 2017, A Chilean Air Force video captured a metallic disc moving at impossible speed. Scientists like Dr. Sergei Bulat, who found unknown DNA in Lake Vostok, were silenced. Conclusion. Welcome, Kay Lorraine. Antarctica is more than ice. It's a vault of secrets guarded by global powers. From UFO sightings to missing scientists and censored satellite imagery, the continent holds truths that could reshape our understanding of reality. As whistleblowers like Brian share their accounts, the question remains, will the secrets remain frozen? Or will they emerge to challenge humanity's place in the universe? Ooh, cashews. Love cashews. All right. We're proceeding apace. Here is a writer, Nazca Funden. He wrote a, what would you call it? A treatise, maybe? A treatise entitled The Navigator Who Crossed the Ice Walls, Worlds Beyond Antarctica. Now, this is about I believe this is about a ship's captain from perhaps the 1800s. Let's find out. Should be able to find out here somewhere in the beginning. William Morris is the name of the captain, I believe. Yes. My name is William Morris. I was a member of the Continental Navy, as the American Naval Force was called in the Revolutionary War. So 1700s, perhaps. Anyway, it's on page 15. And we're going to begin here because that's the part where he finds the world behind the wall of ice. Oh, he wasn't even a captain. He was not a captain. I guess he was, but he was part of this crew. Okay, it says here, when we were all in silence, waiting for the words of the captain, who was going to tell us something that seemed to be unique, a colossal-sized craft loomed and seemed to be coming straight at us. One of the boys went up to see what he could spot and shouted as he descended in a violent manner, "They're coming toward us. It's something gigantic." We all panicked, but Butler ordered us to remain calm. He seemed a bit nervous compared to what we had experienced before. This made me more uneasy. That must be the captain, Butler. As it got closer, we did not change our course. It was reddish in color, and as it got closer, we could see it was most immense. I feared for my life and that of the team. I could not believe we had just left the walls of ice behind, and something was going to prevent us from continuing to investigate this unknown ocean. I also thought that we were the only ones who had come so far in this area. We did not know exactly the depth, but the ocean still looked dark. A deafening sound enveloped us. We could hardly stand it. It was a screeching like some kind of horn. Then a voice came before us saying the following: "Dear visitors from the walled lands, some of our men will come down and approach your boat. We will do you no harm." To me, this message sounded even more frightening. Inside, I thought they might attack us. But it's not like we could escape either. This ship was gigantic and looked like something out of a fictional tale. Butler reassured us by acknowledging he was aware that something like this could happen, to stay calm and welcome the visitor in a kind manner. 3 men were making their way to our ship. This was the first time we had ever had a visitor, and we were not even sailing in familiar waters. The men had white suits and some emblems stood out on them. There was a flag flying on top of their ship, if we could call it that. And the flag was completely blue with a white circle in the middle. We helped the men up, and they greeted us kindly. One of them introduced himself as the captain and asked us what we were doing sailing in this area beyond the wall. Butler spoke for us and informed him that we were sailing around the Antarctic Circle, and that a current had brought us to the other side, and that we had decided to sail through these areas to investigate. I noticed a certain camaraderie between Butler and the visiting officers. The same man turned to look at his other 2 companions, and they were amazed by our feat. They commented among themselves that it had been a long time since they had seen anyone like us. He apologized for the way they approached us and also the way they had to approach, saying, "We are sorry that your visit does not seem welcome. It is, but has been welcome, Maxie Chess. I'm sorry. Welcome, Maxie Hess." I was close. Welcome, Max. Welcome, Ricky Davison. I will give you a map with directions on how to get to safety. The man standing behind said, "Wait. I encouraged myself to ask, safe lands, did you say? Are there then unsafe lands? I will give you this map with directions on how to get to safe lands. Are there then unsafe lands?" The man replied, "The lands from where you come are quite unsafe. Worry not, you will have fine sailing in our direction." Interesting. The men withdrew quickly. Why did they withdraw? "From the ancestral republic, sir," the man answered me in a bounded way. "Don't worry, I understand you have many questions." "From where do you come from?" It was the question he asked them. "From the ancestral republic," he called it. The three men withdrew quickly, looking in all directions as if searching for something. The strange visit left us with more questions than answers. Butler did not hesitate for a moment. He addressed the group that was still fearful and stated our destination was heading to new lands called the Ancestral Republic. We sailed for quite a while following the course indicated by these men. Butler indicated it was important to follow the map rigorously. When several of us asked the captain about what he was going to tell us before the visit, he preferred not to continue with the subject. Why wouldn't he tell them about the purpose of the visit? Ooh, it's getting conspiratorial. There's more later. The human reboot or reset. On a clear night, we could see in the distance. I imagine they're at the place now. The temperature changed quite a bit as we moved away from the walls. In about 30 days, the area enveloped us with a temperate climate. As indicated, we would be close to these lands. Birds of various types began to be spotted, and vegetation on the waters that were now more clear. I had a feeling we were making history. Welcome, Lee in Madtown. Good to see you too, Lee. On a clear night, we could see in the distance different lights that went from east to west, illuminating the way and our hopes. Butler observed that we were stupefied by such beauty. It was a giant and silent city. It seemed an electric world. We decided not to wait any longer in unknown waters because of the possibility of being attacked by an enemy. Because of the warning of the ship that had intercepted us when we crossed the walls and alerted us about the danger behind us and the supposed war that was being fought. We arrived at the port of what looked like a large and modern city. We were on deck waiting to be received. In less than 2 minutes, several agents dressed in similar uniform, a uniform similar to those of the men on the big ship. And they welcomed us respectfully. Welcome to the ancestral republic. We are happy of your visit to our land. It was something unthinkable. We were informed that you would come, but anyway, we could not believe it until we saw it with our own eyes. Butler thanked them on behalf of our whole boat and introduced me as the owner of the boat. I was going through all the emotions together that can be imagined. I think I'm here, I think. A vehicle that I had never seen in my life was waiting for us. It had not even a corner. Oh, no. There was not even a corner in this part of the city that was not illuminated by the great lanterns that adorned and generated the streets. The silence of the city was now more understandable, knowing there were no carriages or horses or any type of vehicle I knew from experience in big cities like New York. Remember, this is supposed to be late 1700s or early 1800s? I think late 1700s. The agent that accompanied me had in his hands a luminous device that transmitted different images and voices. The language that was spoken was different. I didn't understand a single word. A huge stone building stood out from the rest, with large letters, and the flag of the country was high lit by perfect illumination, the blue circle in the center seeming to stand out. When we arrived, I followed the agent until we entered the immense building. There were connections for passages between each room. There were seats of different types. The lighting was dim. When passing to one of those rooms, I touched one of the walls, which was as cold as marble. And I again had some fear. The agent asked me to wait for him in one of the seats. I could have waited there for hours, so comfortable was that chair. The gentleman shook me tightly by the hand, commenting he was sorry to receive me in a time of war. He said, "My name is Fael. I am sorry you have arrived in these times. It would be different. It would have been different in a normal situation. The situation is extreme. The war, we are now part of the war. I should explain points for you to understand. Okay, time to move on here. Here at irishstar.com. God bless them. An article by John O'Sullivan. Makes sense. Entitled Huge Alien Discovered in Antarctica. With social media sent into frenzy. With face seen as evidence. And Mr. O'Sullivan begins. An internet detective has shared images of what appears to be a massive alien face emerging from the snow at the South Pole. The Antarctic alien was discovered by a social media user who stumbled upon the image while browsing satellite photographs of the area on Google Earth. There were previously suggestions of a 12-meter wide UFO discovered in Antarctica. The picture was shared on Reddit in the Strange Earth community last Thursday. The subreddit, one might say, sparking a lively discussion among members. The image seems to depict an extraterrestrial face, with eyes, nose, and mouth clearly visible, in an area where a world-famous flat earther previously explored. The face was found in the southeast region of the continent, a barren area known as Oates Land, named after British explorer Lawrence Oates, who tragically died during the ill-fated 1912 expedition of Terra Nova. The user posted the spooky image with the caption, "Possible face in Antarctica." Oh, it's definitely a face. They also provided the coordinates. Let's copy these. And while we're reading the article, we'll have AI convert them to coordinates that Google Earth will understand. Shoot. Did we get it? Yes. Now we got to go to AI. Convert the following to coordinates that Google Earth can use. Okay, there it is. Result, Google Earth format. Yeah, I hope that's right, because it looks weird. Let's just copy that. Let's go there first. What the hell? Maybe it's still there. Where's Google Earth? There it is. All right. Okay. Let's take off the marker. That's where it is, huh? No, it must be... You can't see it from this angle, maybe. Anyway, we will see a picture of it shortly. Social media users. Thank you, Gotcha Man. Let's pin that. We can't pin, we can't pin it if it's highlighted, right? Yeah. Okay, I'm just gonna highlight it and pin it myself. And we should be able to pin that. Yeah, if it's highlighted, it can't be pinned for some reason. Yellow Rose for Texas says they covered it. I won't be surprised. Thank you, Yellow Rose. Social media users were quick to compare the image to the famous face on Mars. We'll take a look there, too. A similar-looking image captured of the Martian service by the Viking 1 orbiter in 1976, the bicentennial year. This image also seems to show a face, and commenters speculated if the two could be related, reports the Mirror. And there it is. Isn't that incredible? View 2 images. Well, the other one's likely to be Schmittler. Can we do it in a new tab? Evidently not. Excuse me. There's one. What's the other one? Oh, the first one we saw. Okay. The face was spotted in the southeast region of the continent, a desolate area called Oats Land, named after the British explorer. Is that it? It's just a picture. There's no more story. No, here we go. Debunky. The image had previously been shared in 2019, causing some to claim it might be evidence of a civilization living under the ice at the South Pole. In 2016, speculation ran wild online after satellite images of what appeared to be pyramids built upon the White Continent were circulated. Most striking in particular was a black snow-smeared tooth whose keen edges, slanted triangular faces, and sharp summit point bore a striking similarity to Egypt's Great Pyramid of Giza. The structure was surrounded by snow. The massive pyramid was roughly 2 square kilometers and reached 4,150 feet in height. Okay, so let's see that face on Mars. The face on Mars, that ought to come pretty quick, right? I bet they're similar. Thank you, Elder, for the link. Oh, yeah, there it is, too. Is that the same picture? Here. So there's a shadow right here above that crease. Is that the same picture? It looks like it's from a different angle. It's this close to that over there. It's taken at 2 different times a day. Isn't that something? Because look at the shadow here. And this broad band of sunlight. Right here. On this photo. Oh, it has the same broad band, but hard to tell. So far, it does point to me in the same picture. Maybe they rotated this one this way a little bit. Yeah, because that's the same drift across his eye. That's the same exact drift. Yeah, it is. Thank you, Elder. Thank you, Verpine. Verpine with the face on Mars. There it is. Cool. I'm still going to check, I think, the for images, because in case there's more than one picture of the Mars face. I'm hoping for a where does it go? It goes here. Yeah, that's Google Earth. And we're going to go here. And face on Mars. Yeah, there's a couple of them. The most recent ones are more eroded. But that one's a pretty good one right there. The face on Mars. The Aztec face on Mars. Or Gandhi's face on Mars right there. Oh, wow. The Meridani face on Mars is amazing. We must see this. The resolution is really bad, though. Is there one of better resolution down here? What about this one? It doesn't say immediately. That one's very small. What about this one? Smaller even then. The Meridiani face. Never heard of it. It's huge. Let's take a look at that. I mean, it's really nonsense resolution, but let's give it a shot. Is that not a face? Paradoliacs. Ooh, T Plateau with a coordinate picture. The Boneyard of Arizona. Thank you, T Plateau. Face in the desert, Nevada. But that's a man-made one, inscribed by human lips in Sudan. The Nagaro Scarecrow Village. Badlands Guardian. Oh, there's an American native picture there in Canada. Pretty cool. Let's open it up for you to see. Check it out. Feathers up here. Very nice. And we got one from Elder, too. Oh, wow, cool. It's a 3D. Oh, wow, I should run and get my 3D specs. I'm saving this one. I'm going to check this out. That's obviously a 3D representation. Wow. Nice find, Elder. I'm saving that. Save image as. Good. We'll save it right here to the show folder. Nice. Okay, so let's go back to here, I think. Right. Is it similar? Well, this is almost Asiatic. What about the face on Mars? They really are probably not similar. This is like more like something with a helmet. All right, next up. Here at discovermagazine.com is a story by Stephen George entitled The Most Interesting Archaeological Finds Discovered in Antarctica. And how come I can't go down? Oh, yes, I can over here. Oh, I see where it is. What's his name again? Something George? His last name is George, right? Yeah, Stephen George. And Mr. George begins. Wait, where's his first line? Okay, there it is. For someplace so cold, Antarctica sure is a hotbed of scientific endeavor. From geology to meteorology to astronomy to archaeology. Wait, archaeology? Writes Mr. George. That's right. Even in one of the most desolate places on Earth, archaeologists have conducted research on the ice, although not in the way you might think. Here we have to acknowledge that among a subset of pop culture theorists, it's a popular pastime. Thank you, Elder. To conjecture about the southernmost continent. Somewhere beneath the Antarctic ice may sit remnants of ancient civilizations, possibly far more advanced than our modern society, perhaps even extraterrestrial in origin or in influence. Even speculation of a more mundane sort, that prehistoric humans could have lived on Antarctica at a time when the continent was not covered in ice, but was a veritable Garden of Eden, is an idea that has gained traction in some circles. Typically, when any of these theories are advanced, and you don't have to search hard for them, it's often hinted that some secret organization of scientists or governments or corporations, or all three, are keeping these discoveries hush-hush for various reasons. While scientists seldom like to say that something is impossible, they sometimes make exceptions on this topic. Blah, blah, debunky, debunky. Some of the most intriguing discoveries in Antarctica are not artifacts from ancient civilizations, but from our own, dating to a time as recently as a century ago, sometimes even less. The sailors and explorers of those times were plumbing the depths of a harsh and largely unknown country, using the best knowledge and equipment of the day. What they left behind, whether it was a ship crushed by ice or a cache of supplies left during an expedition, or the remnants of an abandoned outpost, have much to teach us and future generations. Here's what has been found above and below the ice. Ooh, there's a picture as it might have been. Check it out. That's cool. The picture of the olden times when all there was like palm trees and these ferns. I forget what period that was. To be clear, Antarctica has never had an indigenous human population, according to some. Millions of years prior, Antarctica was downright balmy, an ancient rainforest that would be hard to envision on the dry, ice-swept land we know today. And more debunky stuff. Compelling evidence suggested that humans first encountered Antarctica around 600 AD, when Polynesian people likely stumbled upon the icy continent. These findings are based upon a careful study of the oral histories of the Maori and related cultures, which describe encounters with a land to the south that was probably Antarctica. Europeans came along several hundred years later, with explorers from many nations, Captain Cook among them, searching for but never quite finding the actual Antarctic mainland. Antarctica's discovery is usually noted as occurring around 1820, although even the history books cannot agree who precisely spotted the continent first. The first reported landing on the continent came in 1821, when an intrepid sea captain named John Davis claimed to have claimed to have put his crew ashore briefly to hunt for seals. Do they have seals in Antarctica? Is it the seals that are down there or the penguins that are down there? What animals? Let's ask AI. It's either seals or penguins. One of them's down there. They own the whole continent, right? Or is there any animal life down there? It is penguins, says Gotcha Man. Okay, I'm going to take Gotcha Man's word for it. That it is penguins. We're told they are penguins. Thank you, Green Tea. Well said. By the late 1890s, better documented landings had occurred, and ships began to spend the winter, often involuntarily, locked in Antarctic ice. Humans have been a presence of one kind or another in the region ever since. In short order, the so-called heroic age. I will tell you all about the heroic age after I deal with some equipment I must deal with over here in this side of the studio. Excuse me. Seals and penguins, says Verpine. Thank you, Verpine. I did not know that. It makes sense, though. Gotchaman says the same thing. Thank you, guys. I got it, but I have to take care of my equipment. Excuse me. Just a little bit of an adjustment on the dial does it. A little tweaking of the dial, and I'm all set. Excuse me. Oh, Rhino Rex informs us what they don't have down there is polar bears. Okay, thank you, Rhino. Tartaria, says Maxie Hess. In short order, the so-called heroic age of Antarctic expedition was underway, with daring adventurers and scientists embarking on punishing and sometimes fatal expeditions onto the continent at the dawn of the 20th century. One of the earliest bases in the region was established in 1903 on Laurie Island. I need some juice. I am so thirsty. It is the oldest such outpost still in operation. It wasn't until 1944 that the first long-term mainland bases were established, with more scientific bases and more scientific cooperation between nations following in the 1950s. I guess I tapped that. In the decades since, scientists have discovered amazing things on and below the Arctic ice. More than 45,000 meteorites, including rocks that came from the moon and even Mars. Secret ecosystems teeming with unexpected creatures, stunningly durable plant life that can live beneath the ice with almost no light, and much more. This includes endeavors of archaeology. Entire books have been written on the Antarctic archaeology, mainly in pursuit of the study and conservation of late 19th and 20th century artifacts from the heroic age. Such research includes the study and preservation of early sealing and whaling stations, huts established in support of Robert Falcon Scott's multiple expeditions, all of which were ultimately ill-fated, to penetrate to the center of Antarctica, the last resting place of the Endurance, the famous ship lost during the 1914 expedition of Sir Ernest Shackleton. and even the exploration of mid-century ghost stations, long abandoned by earlier researchers and explorers. That is pretty cool. Let's see what kind of images we can call up of the Endurance. They evidently found a ship down there from 1914. Ship Endurance Antarctica would be in this area. Here. No, here. Antarctica Endurance ship. Oh, there it is. Son of a gun. Look at that. Look how clear the waters are there down south. Wow. And this is huge resolution. It's huge. Open image in new tab. The Endurance. Look how unmolested that hull is. That is just crazy. Just crazy. This must have been taken by a robot, this picture, right? The Endurance. I mean, the brass isn't even tarnished. This is amazing. Just amazing. Where are the barnacles? Incredible. Got any more? That is amazing, says T Plateau. Verpine says the Shackleton expedition is an amazing story of survival. No kidding. Thank you, Verpine. I'll copy that in case we need that in the coming minutes. Good find. Thank you. Anything else? Is that the only picture they got? No. Check this out, the freaking foredeck, or whatever you call it. Open image in new tab. Incredible. And now it's going to be 110 years ago. From 110 years ago. Look at the chain draped across there. You can still see the links. Look at the cute little window with all the panes, the multiple panes. They wanted light to get in, but they didn't want their windows breaking either. That's cool. Porthole. Welcome, angels in the mist. Welcome, angel. Rhino Rex says that is so amazing. Yeah, right? You're kidding me. An even bigger one on the bottom. The masts are still up. You gotta be kidding me. Holy cow. Because that isn't the sea, I don't think. Or is that a picture of it on the sea? Whoops. Made a big mistake there. Let's see where it is here. Endurance under full sail trying to break through the pack ice. They got a picture of it. Of course, they had photography back then. I wonder if they saved the, is that the Shackleton thing? Yeah, it is. Ernest Shackleton and a crew of 27 men sailed for the Antarctic in 1914. The ship, originally named the Polaris, was built, looks like Norway, built in Norway. Wow, design and construction. Where's the illuminated at night? After it was ice locked. Yeah, after it was ice locked. Wow. That's snow. That's a snowbank, people. That's a damn snowbank. There's a little hut thing out there. Looks like they have a ramp here to go to the ice. Wow. That's where it got stuck. Holy cow. What is it? Drift. The Endurance's boilers were extinguished, committing the ship to drift with the ice until released naturally. Or, as the case may be, until sinking. On July 14th, 1915, Endurance was swept by a southwest gale with wind speeds of 70 miles an hour. That's hurricane force. You can't even stand up outside in 70 miles an hour. It's hard in 50. The blizzard continued for 2 days. This broke up the ice pack into smaller individual floes. This provided a long fetch for the south-sending wind to blow over, and then for the broken ice to pile up against itself, while individual parts moved in different directions. The ice began working, with sounds of breaking and colliding ice audible to those on the ship through the next day. Breaks in the ice were spotted, but none approached the ice holding the Endurance. The ship drifted a further 160 miles to the north. On the morning of the 1st of August, a pressure wave passed through the floe holding the ship, lifting the 400-ton Endurance body upwards and heeling the ship sharply to her port side, or left side, before she dropped into a pool of water, afloat again for the first time in 6 months. The broken sections of the floe closed in around the ship on all sides, jarring the Endurance forward, backwards, and sideways in violent fashion against other slabs of ice. After more than 15 minutes, a force from astern pushed the ship's bow up into the floe, lifting the hull out of the pressure and with a list of 5 degrees, again to her port side. A gale overnight further disturbed the floe, driving it against the starboard side, the right side of the hull, and forcing a sheet of ice upwards at a 45-degree angle until it reached the level of the scuppers. What are the scuppers? Let's take a look. The scupper is an opening in the side walls of a vessel. I guess that if you take away this thing right here, you'll see the water. If you take away this board, you'll see the water because it's open to the air, open to the outside air. Despite the ordeal of the past few days, the ship remained undamaged. More pressure waves, final destruction. By October, temperatures of up to nearly 29 degrees Fahrenheit were recorded, and the ice showed further signs of opening up. The floe against the ship's starboard side broke up on the 14th of October, casting the Endurance afloat in a pool of open water for the first time in 9 months. 2 days later, Shackleton ordered steam to be raised so the ship could take advantage of any openings in the ice. It took 4 hours for the boilers to be filled with fresh water melted from ice, and then a leak was discovered in one of the fittings, and they had to be pumped out, repaired, and then refilled with melted water. The following day, a lead of open water was seen ahead of the ship. Only one boiler had been lit, and there was insufficient steam to use the engine, so all the sails were set to try to force the ship into the loosening pack ice, without success. 2 days after that, the ice closed in around the Endurance once again. In 5 seconds, the ship was canted over to port by 20 degrees, and the list continued until she rested at 30 degrees. With the port bulwark is an alphabetical glossary of nautical terms. What is bulwark? It doesn't say. It doesn't say. With the port bulwark resting on the pack, and the boats on that side nearly touching the ice as they hung in their davits. After 4 hours in this position, the ice drew apart and the ship returned to a level keel. The ice was relatively still for the rest of the month. On the 20th of October, 2 days after that, the steam was raised again and the engines tested. After another 2 days, the temperature dropped sharply from 10 degrees Fahrenheit to negative 14 degrees Fahrenheit. And the wind veered from southwest to northeast. The next day, the pressure ridges could be seen forming in the ice and moving near to the ship. 4 days after that, the damaged ship was racked by further pressure waves, pinning her between both floes. A large mass of ice slammed into the stern, tearing the stern post away. Stern post away. Stern post is the upright structural member or post at the aft end of the ship or boat. Stern post, that red thing, to which is attached the transoms and the rearmost part of the stern. It tore it away from the hull planking. Around the same time, the bow planking was stove in, causing simultaneous flooding in the engine room and the forward hold. Despite using both portable manual pumps and getting up steam to drive the main bilge pumps. Thank you, Elder. Elder informs us bulwark, a nautical term for the extension of a ship's side above the level of a weather deck. So I guess the weather deck is the top deck, right? The water level continued to rise. The main man-powered deck pumps didn't work, as their intakes were frozen and could only be restored by pouring buckets of boiling water onto the pump pipes from inside the coal bunkers, and then playing a blowtorch over the intake valve. McNish constructed a cofferdam, an enclosure built within a body of water to allow the enclosed area to be pumped out or drained, in the shaft tunnel to seal off the damaged stern area, while the crew was arranged in spells of 50 minutes on, 50 minutes off on the main pump. After 28 hours of continuous work, the inflow of water had only been arrested. The ship was still badly flooded. At 9 p.m., Shackleton ordered the ship's boats, stores, and essentials to be moved onto the surrounding ice. It's about time. The footplates in the engine room were pushed up and could no longer sit in place as the compartment was compressed. The planking of the ship's port side was bowing inwards by up to 6 inches. Dinkamasi, welcome Dinkum, wants to know, where's the poop deck? Let's ask. Let's ask AI. It should be here. No, that's the wrong one. Where is it? It's got to be here then. Yeah, it is here. Where is... We'll say A. Where is a poop deck? On a ship. A poop deck is the highest rear deck on a ship, located above the main deck and typically forming the roof of the stern cabin. So the poop, the highest point at the rear of the ship. Here too. Amid temperatures between -9 degrees Fahrenheit and -16 degrees Fahrenheit in the evening, Shackleton gave the order to abandon ship. The position at abandonment was right here. And let's go back to AI, which has to be this one, same one. For Google Earth. Thank you, AI. I'm about to switch AIs, by the way. Here, the Claude is better. So I'll be switching to Claude at some point and stop paying my $20 a month to, they're all about $20 a month for the lowest pay level. Copy that. And let's take a look at where it was imprisoned. From how close was it to the face in the ice? So, way out there, the ice reached. Wow. It looks like underwater ice there, so not too implausible. And shoals over here, ouch. Got to be smart to navigate around there. Where did the thing go? That was on that, wasn't it? Yeah. During the course of the next day, parties were sent back to the ship to recover more supplies. They found the entire port side of the Endurance had been driven inwards and compressed, and ice had entirely filled the bow and stern sections. Only one of the 6 cabins had not been pierced by the floes. Shackleton wrote the entire aft of the ship had been crushed concertina fashion. Concertina is like a squeeze box, right? It's let's take a look at it. Yeah, a free reed musical instrument, like various accordions or the harmonica. T. Plateau says it's a piano accordion. After a failed attempt to man-haul the boats and stores overland on sledges, Shackleton realized the effort was too intense, and the party would have to camp on the ice until it carried them to the north and broke up. More parties were sent back to the Endurance, still with their masts and rigging intact, to salvage any remaining items. By then, 2 days after abandoning her, the ship was submerged up to the forecastle. The forecastle is the upper deck of a sailing ship forward of the foremast. In other words, the part that's almost as high as the foremast, but not quite. After a failed attempt to man-haul the boats, I said that already, forecastle. A large portion of the provisions had been left on the submerged lower deck. The only way to retrieve them was to cut through the main deck, which was more than a foot thick in places and under 3 feet of water. Some crates and boxes did float up once a hole had been cut, while others were retrieved with a grapple. There's a grapple with a GI holding it. One of those hooks with looks like fish hooks on the end. The only way to retrieve them was to cut through the main deck, which is more than a foot. Oh, they did that. The party was still camped under 2 miles from the remains of the Endurance on the 8th of November, when Shackleton returned to the ship to consider further salvage. By now, the ship had sunk a further 18 inches into the ice, and the upper deck was almost level with the ice. The interior of the ship was almost full of compacted ice and snow, making any further work impossible. On November the 13th, a new pressure wave swept through the pack ice. These moments were recorded on film by recognized photographer Frank Hurley. Frank Hurley film of... Can it find it for us? Frank Hurley film of... the Endurance. Gotta be public domain. First documentary feature, the first ever documentary feature was an Antarctic survival story. Endurance documentary, Frank Hurley, YouTube. I am hesitant about using YouTube because there's probably music and narration there, which is copyright. Endurance film review. Watch Endurance on Prime Video, okay? Can we do that? Endurance, rent, buy. There's got to be a free place, come on. Real footage of Ernest Shackleton's Endurance. Watch clips. Let's do that. Oh, that's a YouTube video. No thanks. Photos. Source Endurance. Shackleton's Endurance Expedition Library at frankhurley.org. Diagram, Endurance Diary, diagram. Film. At shopify.org. Available at shop. You can buy it there too. Notes and notes. Photographs. Script. Presentation. Oh, there's something on Vimeo. Photographs only. I want to see that movie. War Museum, Mitchell Library. Not much help. What do we do? Go back here one? Yeah. Curator's notes. Here we go. 213, it says. I don't see a YouTube on it. The breakup of Endurance. Videos and movies on Vimeo. Here we go. Let's mute this. Breakup of the Endurance. It's a little over 2 minutes long. Still in the same predicament with no sign of change. Wow, they brought an ice saw with them, of course they did. The ship itself was commissioned as a battering ram. In other words, it was supposed to break through the ice, I guess, right? Ernest Shackleton and Frank Wild examined the rudder, twisted by pressure ice. Ice floes close in and lift the Endurance 30 degrees to port. This not one of his movies. I'd like to slow that down. Ernest Shackleton gives the order to abandon ship. They brought a dog with him. More than one. Holy cow. Of course, you need dogs to pull those sleds, right? There was our poor ship, a mile and a half away, breathing her last. Looks like almost like those were intentionally leveled. T Plateau says, that is so eerie. Gotta run. Yes, we gotta run. However, don't forget, coming up this Wednesday, Gotcha Men's Movie Watch Party. Only on Twitch, 9 p.m. Eastern. Showing this Wednesday, John Woo's Hong Kong Cinema. A Better Tomorrow from 1986. And arguably the classic that made him a household name, The Killer from 1989. Got a couple of movie posters to show you. Where are they? Here they are. This from A Better Tomorrow. And this from The Killer. So 2 knockout, excellent action movies coming up this Wednesday. Everyone's going to be there, including myself, so please join us. Until then, may God bless us and protect us all.